Chapter 5, Section 2, Cities Expand and Change. This is a picture of Chicago in the 1890s, and this looks like a major traffic jam. You can see all the trolley cars lined up down through there, and they're all attached to electric cables. And it looks like there are some horses pulling wagons and, of course, people standing. Cool picture. In this video, there goes a trolley, and pretty soon you're going to see one pulled by a horse. There's a man with his cart. There goes the horse trolley right there. This is actual photograph. This is film from the 1890s. Here's a picture of a school in New York City. Very small. Ventilation, the window is open slightly. Electricity makes streetcars reliable. There is a picture in the Wabash Pizza Hut on the wall of a streetcar that ran in Wabash. Next time you're there, check it out. This is the skyline of New York City. I believe that's the Empire State Building in the background. Looks like it. Here's the skyline of Chicago. In the lower right corner, you can see those are tenement buildings side by side by side by side. In order to be a skyscraper, it had to have 10 floors to it. This is from Jacob Riis's book, The Other Half. Two-room apartment, and you can see there are 7 people there living in that two-room apartment. Here are some sanitation workers cleaning the garbage in New York City, and they're escorted by a police officer.
Chicago was the perfect location, near the center of the country, the place where the waterways and the rails would all meet, perfect place for anyone or anything to get anywhere. It was like the point of the funnel that everything had to go through.
The city had to build and build quickly, and so they built of wood. It was quick, it was easy, and it was cheap, and there was all sorts of wood flowing into the city.
A lot of these buildings, although they had this hard, impenetrable shell of masonry, the inside was made out of wood. It was growing so fast, nobody ever figured out how to plan it in any cohesive way. So there really weren't a lot of rules.
There were homes next to lumber yards, next to mills, next to businesses. For the most part, homes and businesses were all jumbled together.
By 1871, Chicago was the fastest growing city in the world. The swamps by Lake Michigan had made visionaries into millionaires. But in the summer of 1871, fortunes changed as quickly as the weather.
It was exceedingly dry that summer and fall, and we'd had just over 5 inches of rain between July and September, which is about half normal.
Winter is coming, so people are storing up wood, either coal or wood, so they had a supply of flammable material.
Fire was a real threat in Chicago. People were terrified of fire. It was a city built of wood, and there were lots of fires.
According to legend, on the evening of October 8th, Mrs. Catherine O'Leary is milking her cow in her barn at 137 West Tacovin Street on the city's west side. Around that time, a small fire ignites in the barn. What caused that fire is still being debated nearly 150 years later.
The one thing you can say for sure is it started in the cow barn behind the O'Leary home on DeKoven Street. That's for a fact.
Just before 9 p.m., O'Leary's next-door neighbor runs to the neighborhood fire alarm box to send an alert to the watchtower at the city courthouse. The night operator sends a telegraph to firefighters, but fails to notify the firehouse closest to the fire. By the time firefighters reach the O'Leary barn, about 20 minutes after the first alarm, the fire has spread throughout the block. The watchman rings the bell in the courthouse tower. The sound peals over the city. People look up to see the sky fill with flames. The wind pushes the fire north and east, all the way to the banks of the river.
They did not expect the fire would be able to cross the Chicago River, which is not a hugely wide river, but it had always been an effective barrier for fire protection.
But by 11:30 p.m., the river is in flames.
They had kind of an oily residue, and the Chicago River itself even caught fire from just kind of the grease and the things that were the pollutants on the water. So this was really kind of quite a fire when you even have the river itself burning.
After jumping the Chicago River, a firestorm tears through the city's business district. The heat helps the fire generate its own wind.
In those areas of extreme heat, the air is rising away from the fire. Air rushes in with great force, and it begins to spin. Essentially, you get rotary whirlwinds of fire, and they look like burning tornadoes.
Around 2:30 in the morning, the fire jumps the river a second time, and the wind sends fiery embers into the North District toward the city's only water pumping station. The wooden roof ignites. Soon, it collapses, knocking out the city's water supply. By 3:30 a.m., all hope of saving the city has gone up in smoke. During the night of October 9th, a cold front moves toward Chicago.
The temperatures dropped quite a bit from the 85 mark. It was only in the 50s by the 10th, and then they had some rain with that frontal system.
The cold front most likely moved in and caused this precipitation to occur over the region, over the city. So this rain event was most likely associated with the approaching cold front.
Early Tuesday morning, it started to rain, thank God. And I think it helped people psychologically.
Nearly 30 hours after the fire began, the rain extinguishes what is left of the flames.